Welcome back to the Daughters of the Moon podcast. We're grateful that you could join us for another week.
We certainly are.
And today we're excited. We have Dee May on, and we were very lucky to be on her podcast and do an interview with her. So it's really nice to have you on ours now to talk. So, can you tell us a little bit and our followers a little bit about yourself?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. First of all, it was so much fun when y'all came on my podcast. I was excited and looking forward to recording with y'all again, just so we could chat more than anything. I mean, the recording is fun too, but just being able to chat again is fun. So,
You bet.
yeah, I've been on a spiritual journey basically since I was conceived, I think. But my earliest memory of spirit is when I was about 4 or 5 years old. I saw a spirit, my very first, and I've never been afraid. I know like a lot of people have stories about they saw this spirit when they were really small and they were very frightened and they didn't understand or know. But I've always just been very comfortable with it. So I don't have any of those scary experiences or anything like that. But I was raised Pentecostal, right? So that's a very super strict religion, and anything outside of their teeny tiny little box is going to send you straight to the depths of hell. So I grew up, being afraid of that more than anything.
Mhm.
Spirit was just like, cool, let's hang out or whatever. And then, but let me not talk about it or God might smite me. So it was so for a long time I never got away from it, but I never really explored it and invited more conversations and more things like that because I was taught that it was, evil and of the devil. So I didn't do that. So it took me some years to get back into it again. And when I did, because of my background in Pentecostal religion, I was very, very afraid because I thought, any moment I'm going to burst into this ball of fiery brimstone and it's going to be over.
Yeah.
So it took me some time to really start exploring, and then what I figured out is, well, look, I didn't burst into a ball of fiery brimstone. I'm still here. So there's
You are
that.
still here.
And that it's a lot of fun and a lot less judgmental in this beautiful area of spirituality, which is just so cool to me because, when someone has no judgment around these things, then they just allow, they allow people to be themselves. And then you hold space for other people to come into their selves. And it's just, to me, it's just amazing. It's just so, so beautiful.
Yeah, I
I
I
totally
agree with
agree.
that. And the thing I like about it too is I find when you're in this kind of realm that we meet people where they are. So we're more accepting of, oh, you're new, you don't understand. Okay, well that's good. We'll ask questions, we'll prompt you, we'll lead you, we'll help you, we'll travel with you, even though we may be more, advanced on our path, where I
Right,
don't feel like you
right.
get that in the necessarily in the religion, based religions.
Oh, you definitely don't. You definitely don't. I just had some experiences. I went to, I have a friend who has a little, we call it a witchy shop, a little spiritual store where she has, stones and little shirts and all kinds of stuff related to spirituality, sage and all the work, like that. And she had her official grand opening recently, and I went in and did card readings for people who, a short card reading for people who purchased a certain amount of product, and just, kind of to help her with her grand opening, everything. And it was a lot of fun, but I posted the advertisements for it in some of the groups around town, and the response that we got was really, really funny. Like the one lady commented, pure witchcraft. And like I did not engage in these comments because it's pointless endeavor to do that. I just let people think what
Mhm.
I mean, like you're able to think, I get to think what I want, you get to think what you want. And it's a happy world that way. But I didn't comment. But in my mind, I thought, say that like it's a bad thing,
Yeah, yeah,
pure
they do.
witchcraft, you know? And then we actually did have a lady come into the store, but she wasn't able to get very far in, which I found very amusing. I sat over there in the chair and watched, and I just thought it was so funny. She came in like 2 feet inside the door. She couldn't get any further than that. And she looked around, but her movements were really jerky and frantic. And she looked at my friend and she goes, "You don't have any Jesus t-shirts?"
Oh,
And she's like, "No, I don't have any Jesus t-shirts." And she walked out. So it's still really interesting to see the reactions people have to this kind of stuff. And, it's one of the things that I learned in religion that is they push it. They push it on you. Like we went around the neighborhoods and passed out tracts, and they're always wanting to talk to anybody about it. Not every one of them, but a lot of them do. And in the spiritual arena, I've found that there's not that. If people have questions and they come to you and they ask questions, that's when you share. It's not like you're pushing it on people. And to me, that's one of the big differences as well with spirituality versus religion.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. You're gonna say something?
I was going to say, yeah, I find the same. I grew up Roman Catholic and very strict Roman Catholic. And so, yeah, it was scary to branch out into any kind of spirituality because it was looked at as you were the devil itself. And so, yeah, I hid a lot until like I got into my probably late 20s before I actually started telling anybody that I believed in it, other than Kimmy's grandma at the time. Because everybody that you told looked at you like you would never tell anybody in the church. You just wouldn't.
Oh, right.
And, you just wouldn't do it. But you're right. Once I started into more into the spiritual plane, yeah, I was accepted and it felt so good that I belonged to something finally. I felt like I was real then, and allowed to be the person I really am. And so, yeah, you're right. It's nice. It's very nice. It's a very good arena. I like that word that we're in. That's how we can all join hands and be accepting of anything that's possible, sort of thing. So that was what I
Yeah.
had.
Yeah. It's gorgeous. I mean, it really is. It's so beautiful. And it was also funny. This other girl came in and she was having all of these things. She's kind of, I won't say the very beginning of her journey, but she's starting to really get a little more comfortable with exploring and everything. And it was cool because she's having conversation with Darlene and I about it. And she goes, "And you're gonna think I'm crazy." And I started laughing. I looked at Darlene. I'm like, "Oh my goodness." I'm like, "She thinks she's crazy. This is perfect." Because don't we all go through that period when we're exploring our spirituality where we are sure and convinced that we are absolutely nuts, but
Yeah, yeah.
we're not. We're just finally starting to, not be nuts, actually. That's kind of the way I look at it.
And believe in ourselves too. I think that's part of it is we're finally starting to trust ourselves that, yeah, I really do have something here and I want to follow it because it makes me feel real good. Right?
Yeah.
It really does. So
And I love because I feel the more that I get into my spirituality and awaken it and embrace it, the more that I find my tribe, so to speak, of the people that I closely resonate with and can take me on the next level of my journey to get to wherever it is that I need to go. So I just find that, but yeah, I find it's really funny because I don't talk about it too much at my corporate job because a lot of people are scared, right? There's a lot of pushback. Some people are open to it, but I just mend the waters or sometimes I stir the pot just cuz.
Sometimes the pot needs to be stirred a little bit,
Right?
that's how I feel, because that's when we can plant those seeds. It's like just open up your mind, because it's not, I find that most people who are in spirituality are very kind, considerate, compassionate people who are led by their hearts instead of this kind of harsher mentality, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
I do
absolutely.
too. Yeah.
So,
And learning to read cards, that was one of the things that I was kind of afraid of. And now that I'm doing it and I've decided to do it intuitively instead of like by the book, I'm having so much fun. And the readings that I gave at my friend's shop were just amazing. And she told me at one point in the day, she's like, will you stop making my customers cry? I'm like, yeah, next time we're going to have a box of Kleenex handy because like they're all like bawling and
Yeah.
happy tears. But it was a lot of fun. And, you know, just getting into that. Now I don't do as much of the mediumship readings anymore. Although if I am doing a reading and I have someone come in, or if I'm in a, you know, in a situation and I have someone come in, I'm happy to share that message. And actually for the first time during one of my card readings with an older gentleman, he was 79. It was so cool to do a reading for this guy. He's a Vedic astrologer,
Wow.
and it was really cool. But his mom came in and I was like, I've never said this in a reading before, but your mom came in, and you know, and then she came and she stood by his left side. It was really cool. It was really, really cool.
Do you feel like
It is.
a lot of the times the spirits do stand on your left side? Like come in on the
I
left?
know my dad does. Now, my mom is kind of all over the place. She just wherever she, you know, comes in, she comes in. Sometimes she'll come straight in and give me a kiss on the forehead or something like that. Or but my dad always seems to show up on the left. And when I hear his voice, I hear it in my left ear. You know, so it is really interesting that some spirits they like pick a side, and that's where they always come. So
Yeah, it's really cute. I was doing a reading last week, and the spirit came through and kept peeking beside the shoulder, like just peeking out and showing their eyes, nothing else, just around the neck. And I was saying, and I'm going, okay, anytime now. You know, it was really cute. Anyways, they finally did appear and said their message, but at the first it was like they didn't really know if they wanted to come out or not. And it's one of those times. It's like, now this is real different. This is real different, but fun too. Very fun.
that's so interesting. So I just like have so many questions about that. Was it a person who had recently crossed over?
No, they had been away for a while from these people. I think it was 10 years. But they
Wow.
also said that in their time on Earth here, they were jokesters, and they were like
Uh-huh.
that. That's the kind of person that they were. So they came back exactly like they were when they were on this earth plane. And so the person identified it immediately. So I didn't even
Yeah.
say who it was. It's like, I got somebody that's peeking in beside you here. Like, I don't know what they're talking, what they want, but I hope that doesn't matter what they're peeking beside here. And they say, oh, that would be, and that's how it came all about. So kind of fun. That was fun.
That is fun. That is really cool. Did they have a fun message also? You don't have to tell me what it is, but was it a fun message?
They did. They did. And
That's awesome.
that was sort of the first time that it ever happened to me too, where they were, doing this peekaboo thing. So yeah.
Playing a little game. That's fun.
Yeah, I always
I
find
hope
it
I come back.
interesting. Sorry, Mom. I always find it interesting when they do come in though, right? Because like my stepdaughter was here and we were just sitting chatting and she was talking about, oh, I got to go see grandma because my mom, because, right, she's gonna try to tap into my girlfriend for me that has passed and blah, blah, blah. I have some questions and I'm like, okay, well, but she's here. So if you want me to tell you, I'll just tell you what she has to say, right? And she's just crying and she goes, well, she came to you. I said, she only came to me because I'm open to listen. She comes to
Right.
you. You're just not ready to hear her yet. So
Yes.
that's the way that they come, right?
Yeah. And they come in different ways. And I just had this conversation with someone else is that sometimes we expect them to come in such a specific way that we block out any other messages that they may be sending us or showing us because we're so focused on, I want them to show up in this particular way. So we limit them. And then maybe they don't want to show up that way. Maybe they don't want to be a freaking cardinal. Maybe they want to be a butterfly or a feather, And so we just, if we allow ourselves to be open to it, and when we do that, then we will receive more messages. And I wish I could like just infuse that into everyone if they were open to it, so that they could receive these beautiful messages, because they are so healing and they are so important to us, you know? It's so
Yeah.
lovely to talk to our loved ones and get those signs and symbols from them, but we really discredit them and deprive ourselves of some great communication by limiting them so much.
Yeah, we absolutely do. Like I know, like I have some loved ones that have passed and they come to me in certain ways and they've picked the ways that they want to come. So I'm okay with that. It's like, okay, I hear that song. I know Uncle Barry's standing around somewhere, why he's there. I don't know. Maybe he's just checking in. Just, hey, I happen to be here today.
Right.
It could be just that, right? So I love
Yeah.
that part. And I agree with you. It'd be nice if people would open up and not box it into, I'm only going to listen to if it's a butterfly or what have you.
Like my grandma, I've told this story before, and I can't remember if we talked about it when you came on my podcast, but my mom's mom shows up with the smell of raw onion. So I always know it's her, which it took me a minute to figure it out. I'm like, who was coming with the smell of raw onion? It was so, one day I was brushing my teeth and washing my face, getting ready for the day, and it just smelled so strong. And I stopped everything. I put everything down and I'm like, all right, who is this? I want to know. You keep showing up. Who are you? Talk to me. You know, I'm not afraid, so just tell me who you are. And it was my grandma, and she came with the most amazing, profound message. And it was just so incredible and now occasionally she hasn't come in so strongly since that time, that one particular conversation, but she does show up from time to time with just that little whiff of raw onion. And I'm like, oh, hi, grandma. You have anything to say today? Then nothing. I'm like, okay, well, good morning.
Yeah, my grandma always rattled my dishes in the kitchen, and it usually seemed to come when there was some kind of real chaos in my life, and then I'd be quiet, and then at night I could hear the dishes, right, move in the dish pan and or whatever in the sink, and I'm just like, oh, okay, same thing, right? It took me a minute, like, who is that? And then it come to me, oh yeah, it's grandma. So she hasn't come for a long
Yeah,
time, so I guess I know she's there if I needed her, but
right. And it is kind of cool how they just show up sometimes just to provide that extra kind of support, and they don't have to really do anything except let you know they're there. Just being there with you, supporting you, gives you that comfort.
And
absolutely.
I think that's exactly it, is the comfort level. They do show up when you need that. And it helps you can go, thanks, just a little, thanks. Remind me to take a deep breath, sort of thing. And that's exactly what they do. Take that deep breath, girl. It's going to be okay. Relax.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've
Yeah.
got this. It might be hard and you might be having a struggle, but you've got this. You can do it. Just take time
Yeah.
to breathe and just know that you're okay.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I loved how you said that about just asking them, like, who is this? Because I think that for people listening that don't know that it's that easy just to say, who is it? And sometimes we hear a voice or sometimes we just have that image of who it is popping in. And that's what I find a lot of times when I connect, I connect in the weirdest ways because I could be on the phone with somebody. I was on the phone one day with my stepdaughter, and I'm like, okay, there's some lady here. And she's like, yeah, like there's yellow and this. And she's like, oh, that's for my boyfriend. I'm like, okay, well, give that to him. And that's all I got, right? There's no message that
Right.
just they're here. So it's just funny because sometimes you don't know, but for yourself, you can ask those questions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can ask who it is. If it's not for you, you may not get the answer if it's for someone else, because I know that's happened to me before. But yeah, it is that easy. As humans, we love overcomplicating stuff. We want to make, like, we need this ritual and we've got to do this and it's got to be at a certain time of day. And, don't look at your phone before you do anything else, because then you won't succeed in life. I'm like, really? Like, you know, Come on.
Exactly.
It's not that complicated. I had a lady ask me, actually, when I was doing that for my friend's shop, um, she came up, we were chatting outside the store, and she said something about some stuff she was going through. And I said, well, ask Archangel for help, you know? And she was like, oh, that's a good idea. And then she's like, how do I do that? And I said, you say, hey, Archangel, that I said, and if you don't know the name of the Archangel that specializes in that certain area, whether it's, like cutting things away from that don't no longer serve you, or healing, or whatever the case may be, you say Archangel of healing. You don't even have to know their name. Will you please come help me? I said, just like you would walk up to me and say, hey Dee, would you mind helping me do blah blah blah? Say that to the Archangel. Say that to your guides, say that to spirit, say, hey, would you mind helping me with this today? I'm struggling. I need some help. It's that easy. There's no complications. There's no, you don't have to, you can do a ritual if you want to. You can burn some sage or some palo, or a bay leaf, and get your crystals out and say, you can do all that. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's not necessary. It can be just as simple as having this. And let's face it, we're not always going to be in a situation where we can do all of that pretty ritualistic kind of stuff. Sometimes we're in a pinch, and, we're, like at Walmart, and we went to the bathroom, and all of a sudden something happens and we need help. Well, we don't have time to grow. We don't even have our sage, we don't have our altar. We don't have anything. But we do have our voice, and we do have our heart. So we don't even have to speak it out loud. We can just say it inside ourselves, in our heart, and they're going to hear us, and they're going to come help us. They want to help us. They're waiting for us to ask them.
Yeah, they really are. And I love that because, and I found this prayer, so I kind of do it in the morning, but I agree. I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing the rituals. And I find some people, when they become spiritually inclined, they still have rules about how you need to do it in the best way. And I don't think there is. I think you do it how it works for you, and you honor that system and your connection with spirit, and that's all there is to it, right? So whatever
Yeah.
that may be for you. And I do different things in my house than I do when I go camping. When I go camping and I'm in nature, I call on the angels and the spirit in a totally different way, because I'm in nature. I don't need to do
Yeah.
what I feel like I need to do maybe in the house, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. And it is fun to do the ritualistic stuff. I mean, I do it too. I just saged and payload my house earlier today, and sometimes I have my crystals and some of my stones sitting nearby me when I'm, doing these podcast recordings and stuff. And sometimes I'll grab one and hold it. I don't necessarily feel like that makes the conversation better, but it's just, I'm drawn to pick up that stone at that time and hold on to it for whatever reason. And so I answer that call because I always want to be open to what spirit is telling me and encouraging me to do. So, but it doesn't have to be there.
no,
Our biggest tool that we have is ourselves.
that's right. Because right now I'm home renoing. So most of my things are in the garage, including all of my crystals and cards and everything else. And I know they're there, but I also know that I could go get them if I needed them. But I also know I don't need them, because I have I just need to call on them if I need to, right? But it is good to know
Right.
you have them there. And once everything's done in my house, I will do a really good clearing. It'll be good.
Yeah, home reno is always fun.
Yeah. Home reno, do that, they say.
Well, it is beautiful afterwards. I'm telling you, it's that transformation is kind of magical sometimes. And
Yeah. And it's really funny, because I was reflecting about that when I was journaling this morning, was of how I feel like this is happening right now for me, because it's a shift in how I'm perceiving things and what my next journey is going to be. And it's almost like I needed that physical change of my space to alter some of the things where I'm going on my next steps. Do you, either of you
Yeah.
guys have something that you could say about that? Is that true, or is that, what's your feelings with it?
Go ahead, Dee.
I agree with you. I think sometimes that is to shake it up a little bit, like going and getting a new hairstyle or whatever. And you hear a lot of talk with the mindset about manifestation and stuff. Who are you? Who is this future you? What does she look like? What does she dress like? How does she talk? Who does she hang out with? What kind of house does she live in? What kind of car does she drive? What kind of food does she, does she do in her spare time? So when you have that vision of yourself and you're able to implement that in your physical reality in any kind of way, even if it's a small change, like putting new curtains up or getting some new throw pillows for your couch, it doesn't have to be a huge change. But I think that does help you really embody that future self in your mind a lot more strongly, so that you're kind of more strongly on your path, more, just that mindset is a little more cemented in than it would be if you hadn't done that little thing.
Mhm.
Or house reno is a big thing, but I'm just saying it doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be
No,
something small.
right.
I think that so many people are afraid of change. And when we can show them that change is beneficial to their growth and their creativity, and when I often find myself saying that to people, don't be afraid to take that step of change, you know, and I have some of them say, oh, I can't change. And I
Yeah.
I say to them, just try little changes, because little footsteps in the sand, you're making a difference for you and for your family every time you make it and you bring them into your heart that it's accepting, right? And I say that
Yeah.
quite often, actually, and it's true. So whenever change is about, when I see a change coming, I think, is it what I really want? Number one. And number two, oh, it's being said to me, so I guess I'm going to have to accept it on my own level that's comfortable, but I need to accept the change just the same, right? So yeah, change is difficult, but it's also beautiful, beautiful for everyone.
It is beautiful. And I like to say sometimes that some of the most beautiful things that happen to us to push us forward on our journey feel like absolute shit in the moment. They do. You're going through it and you're like sure that the world is over, nothing's ever going to work out, things are just smeared all over and it's going to be messy forever. And then you wake up one day and you're like, oh, I get it now. Like, I see why that had to happen, because if it hadn't happened, then I wouldn't have changed the way that I'm doing things. And the bottom line is, if we keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, we're going to get the same result over and over and over again. I mean, think of how you take your path to work every day. If you take that path, it's going to end up in the same spot every single time. You're going to get in your car, you're going to go to that route, and you're going to end up at that building that you work in every single time. But what if one day, instead of taking that left-hand turn, you take a right-hand turn?
Why not?
Why
Yeah.
not? And see what's down that road and where that takes you, and where that leads you.
Well,
I mean,
and
it's so interesting to get to that place where you're like, let me just see, and you're not stressed out about it. Where is this going to take me? Let's find out,
it's so funny you say that, because I tend to just go the same way a lot of the times. And so the other day I was doing something in town and I went the opposite way that I usually do. And I'm like, why would I go this way? It's not as fast. And I'm like, I don't know. We'll just go with it and see where we end. Like, I know where I'm going to. It doesn't matter that I didn't go the way that I always go. I'm like, obviously there's something I either need to witness or I just need a change of pace. And, I think it's stirring up all these changes. And I even said that to my husband with all these house renos, is taking everything out to the garage because we're doing flooring too. Is I said, I feel really good about this because now when I bring things back in, I'm going to bring them in with intent. So
Yeah.
I will look at that piece of whatever it is, art or cards or crystals or whatever it is, and say, like, is this what I want to project in my new space? And if it's not, then I can release that and let that go. So it's definitely shifting some things for me.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Or maybe even look at it and ask it, what room do you want to be in? Which wall would you like to be on? You know, what direction would you like to face? And, you know, so I'm curious, when you went the different route on your way, did you see something that stuck out to you?
I don't really recall. All I really felt was, like, in the moment, I felt panicked when I realized I had not gone my normal way. I was like almost a panic. And then I was like, whoa, okay, let that go. But it was just nice because I drove by where the lake is. And so I think I just, yeah, took in those visuals a little bit, but there was nothing.
Yeah.
But it was just a
So
nice change.
maybe the panic that you felt
Yeah.
was the lesson for you in that even if you do go a different way, you're still okay.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, that change isn't going to take your feet out from under you.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. I want to talk a little bit about emotional change too, because of
Mhm.
some of the things that are going on in my life right now. But when I'm in a conversation with somebody that is talking about something, then it can be, in an instance, it's something that wasn't so nice, sort of thing, the sickness in the family. But when they got into it, it was about dread and very negative. And I find that with
Mhm.
the spirituality, where it's taking me now in my life, that I felt a little bad after, to be honest with you. But I changed the conversation to something else immediately. I always like I was only in the conversation maybe a minute when it started happening, and I felt that feeling in my stomach and thinking, no, this just can't happen right now. And I totally reversed the conversation. And every time it started coming back, I did it again, but I find now in life, in the early years when I was trying to shift and make it go into a different conversation, I had difficulty because I had guilt at the same time, and I would stay in the conversation with it. Where now I was being so into tune with myself, I guess I nicely rotated the conversation over and kept nicely rotating the conversation over, so that it didn't have to stay in that same content, if you know what I mean. And I did
Yeah.
have a little bit of guilt after going, woo, but it worked, you know? So I was like, yeah, way to go, sort of thing. But
Yeah.
do you find that's easier too for you now that your spirituality is really engaged, that when somebody's talking to you about something negative and especially to do with sickness and things like that, because we know that engaging and talking about sickness even more so even makes it worse sometimes, right? So we're trying to always move past it. So how do you feel about that?
Well, I think it really just depends on the conversation and the person I'm talking to, because I
Yeah,
believe that there's a venting process that we all need to do where
yeah,
we're just afraid and we're, you know, and we need to get that off our chest. My issue comes in when a person wants to stay in that mindset and they want me to go there with them because I'm
yeah,
not going there. Like I
right.
will sit here and be compassionate, you know, and listen to you while you vent and get those thoughts out. But I'm not going to go down the road of gloom and doom with you. I'm just not going to do it. And it reminds me of a conversation that I just had with a dear friend of mine the other day who has been diagnosed with lung cancer, and she's going through chemo, and she was talking about the different outcomes of the people that are in there and this and that. And I told her, I said, because she got into this like mindset of that's the only outcome there is
Mhm.
death. It's just this decline and then death, and that's the only outcome there can be. And I said, but you're letting the doctor write your story for you.
Okay,
Who
good.
gets to decide how things go for you? Are you going to let someone else write your story? You're going to let the doctor tell you how it goes? Or are you going to decide how it goes? You know, are you going to decide? Make up your mind. you know,
Right.
because I even listened to Dr. Bruce Lipton just recently. And if y'all don't know who he is, you got to check him out. He's so amazing. I love this guy. And but he was talking about the same thing. He said there will be people who get a diagnosis of cancer and get told that they're going to die in 3 months.
Mhm.
In 3 months, they'll die. And if an autopsy is done on that person, because this is documented, there will not be enough cancer in that person to have killed them at 3 months. He goes,
Mhm.
so how do you figure that one out? It's mindset. And I even heard a story about a guy who was wrongly diagnosed and was given a deadline of, this is when your expiration date is this, and that's it, you know, and he wasn't even sick, and he died.
Wow.
In 6 months he died because he had made up his mind that that was true. So I do believe that it's really, really important mindset around anything and everything. It's so, so important, because that's what dictates how things go. And I always like to say, write a better story.
Right.
I mean, because I actually manifested it, and this isn't about death or anything, but it is a funny story. Not that death is funny, but that's not what I meant. But I manifested crickets in my house one time. And I'm like, what? And Steve never heard them. 3 nights in a row, I got woke up by crickets. And I'm like, what the heck? And I started thinking back. Y'all know how long it took me to manifest these crickets in my house 3 nights in a row? 2 weeks. 2 weeks, because I was talking to Steve and I would say things like, well, I sent so and so a text and all I heard was crickets. Well, I asked so and so a question and all I heard was crickets. And all of a sudden I have crickets in my house waking me up. Not Steve. They didn't wake him up. He wasn't the one who talked about the crickets. I was. So one day he said something about crickets and I'm like, oh, no, you don't. No, you are
I'm
not
done
allowed to
with
say
them.
that. So it really does, what we say, the words we put out there and the energy we put around any topic at all. And I mean, when it's around your health, and I get the scary diagnoses. I get it. However, who knows you better than you? Who knows you better than you?
That's
You
right.
know how you feel. Like my friend, she goes, well, I don't feel sick. Go with that. Go
Yeah.
with that thought. Don't go with the thought that you're going to die of this. Go with the thought that
Exactly.
you don't feel sick. You know, why
Exactly.
wouldn't you choose that one over the other one?
Yeah.
That's
I think
right.
that was
You know?
yeah, I think that's what it was with the other day, was the scenario of how it all happened for the sickness and everything else that came to be was being repeated over and over. And it was like, okay,
Mhm.
we don't need to keep hearing it like that, because like, stop. You know, you need to start thinking about all the good things that could be happening with it instead of just going into that. So I said in the conversation, stop. You just need to stop for a minute and just calm down and think about the good things now that could come with this, you know. It wasn't
Right.
received really, really well. It wasn't received really, really well, but it did alter the conversation, that I felt more comfortable in the conversation in order to maintain the phone in my ear sort of thing. Otherwise it would have been, okay, I gotta go. Right. And that's not very
Right.
nice either. You know, so that's all I was trying to get at, was that is sometimes just taking it and, like you said, Kenny, too, move it in a different direction as soon as you can, helps to formulate a new existence in the conversation that is a much better and warmer and gentler way of either telling them information or receiving it too. So, you know, it
I
just was one
agree
of
with
those.
that. I agree with that because I had a girl at work. So just right, we've had a lot, the grad, the house rentals, blah, blah. And I wasn't feeling very good one day and I went to work and she tends to be sick a lot. And so she goes, oh, you're probably getting sick because of all the stress in your life. I said, I only have time to be well, actually. So I'm just gonna, it's probably nothing. I'll just get a good night's sleep tonight and everything will be fine tomorrow. And she's just gave me
Mhm.
this look like, no, right? That's not this. Yeah, but I have my own story, and my story is that I'm well, and that's how I'm gonna
Yeah.
go with it.
And it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when we only create room for one outcome, then how many outcomes do you think we're going to get?
Exactly.
You know?
I'm going to get wellness. You're going to get, not now, but you got them.
Right. Right. Whatever story you're writing, I mean, you're guaranteeing that it's going to be that. You're not giving it a choice, you know?
Right.
So I think it's really, really important to, have that great mindset about everything. And even on my crappy days now where I'm really struggling, I'm still able to look with my higher self and see all of the beauty that's happening, all of the things that are going right, even though I'm struggling in the moment, because let's face it, we're going to have days that we struggle, right? We're human. We're
That's
not,
right.
I mean, we still have that human factor. No matter how much spirit is here, we still have that human factor that has to experience these things to help us to grow. So, getting to the place where you can be in the mess and you've got your Kleenex and you're crying and you're mad or whatever it is, and you can still see that beauty and all of the things happening, and know that you can still be happy even though this person's not talking to you, or that person got mad at you, or whatever it is. That's a beautiful, beautiful place to be.
It
Yeah.
is a beautiful place. And I think it's good for people to know like this conversation, because then they can alter and change things very easily in their life, so they don't have to be living in a negative energy for their whole day or anything like that, just because something happened that was not so nice. So what we're doing is just saying to them, you don't have to go with it for the whole day. It can just be like a 5 minute experience in your life, and then you can pass it on to the next beautiful time that you want to have in that day. And it can be that easy for people to do that, right? To rejoice in the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And it takes some practice. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't get here overnight. I promise you that. My journey has been long and arduous, but
Yes.
that's why I do what I do. That's why I wanted to become, a spiritual podcaster and a spiritual mentor, and help other people see the possibilities, because I'm a big proponent of cracking open those possibilities. Because if you keep yourself stuck in that one space, then you have encapsulated your own self. No one else did that. You allowed that to happen to you. And that was one of my hardest lessons. I'm like, I am in this shit show of a relationship. How could this be? Like, he's all at fault, blah, blah, blah. But
Yeah.
I was staying, so I put myself in that place by staying in it and leaving myself in there. So anytime we want to, or anytime we desire a change, and want is one of those words I'm looking to eradicate from my vocabulary, but y'all, it is a challenge to be mindful of everything you say. But when you say want it, I'm going to say this again, when you say the word want, you're saying that you don't have it, so you're living in lack. Because if you have it, you don't have to want it, because you already have it.
Right.
So that's one of the things I'm being more mindful of saying. But anything you want to create, I guess that's a better way of putting it. Anything you want to create in your life, if you just open yourself up to the possibilities, you don't even have to do it. And when I was doing my card readings, I said this to like 3 different people because of the certain card that came up. Creative daydreaming in my fairy oracle deck. Creative daydreaming. You don't even have to do the thing, but just allow yourself to play in the idea of it. What would it look like? Say like, Kim, you want to write a book. What would it look like if I wrote a book? What would it be about? How would it be received? How would I feel about myself? Just play in that. You don't have to actually sit down and write it yet. I mean, and maybe you will, that's cool. But just let yourself play in that. What would it feel like to be an author? Ooh, how exciting would that be? Would I be a bestseller? And just, I mean, allow yourself to play in the possibilities of it, just like you did when we were kids. When we were kids, that's all we did was play in the possibilities. And then we grow up and we get like afraid of them. Like, oh my God, the world's going to end if we play in the possibilities. No, it's not. It's going to expand.
That's right.
Yeah.
Just do it and see where it takes you.
I
Yeah,
like to
you
do
bet.
that. Every once in a while too, I like to do where you just like imagine your perfect day, right? How do I wake up? What do I have? Do I have a coffee? Do I have a tea? Do I go for a walk? Do I have a job? What is my job? What is my purpose? And I just like to play it out every once in a while just to see,
Yeah.
is it the same? Have I moved, shifted things around, you know? And put them into that. And I agree, like it's so important to watch what we say, but it is so hard to watch what we say because it's habitual, right? We've said it for so long, like want. I agree 100% with you, but it's hard to fill that in with something else when we're in the moment of it and to be like, okay, no. What is the word I'm going to use?
I know.
I like create, right? Instead of wanting
Yeah.
something, it's like I create this abundance or I create this new job or I create writing a book or whatever it might be.
I mean, it just has a totally different energy to it, don't you think?
You're on mute.
You know?
You're
Yeah,
on,
you're muted.
Mama. You're muted.
Sorry, I was going to leave for a minute there. Thank you, Bill. Mine was, I was saying in my readings, you need to. And then I thought, whoa, that's really bad. So now I say a suggestion would be to you, because I felt like, like Barb, when you're saying it like that, you're trying to rub it down, or they might feel like you're shoving it down their throat, sort of thing, right? So now I worded a different way, but I had a hard time getting that out of my vocabulary. You need to, you know, like,
Yeah.
who am I?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is different. And recommend, suggest, I invite you,
yeah,
give it a
yeah.
shot, play in the possibilities, just it's a lot of fun, but it does take a lot of mindfulness too.
Oh boy.
One of the other words I'm not using is hard because I feel like if we think it's hard, we say it's hard. Do we or do we desire to do it because we already think it's hard,
Yep.
So just mindfulness around it. It's
Right.
just a different way of doing it. It requires some effort on our part at first with mindfulness, but it comes easier every single time, right? And no
Right.
one started out as an expert. That's one of the things I always like to say, that no one starts out as an expert. We all start out at the beginning of this journey. We're messy, we're sloppy, we're like a little kid learning to walk. We fall over, we hit our head, we land on our butt, we're clumsy and jerky, but damn it, we're cute tottering around like that, aren't we? Learning and growing. So it's just allowing ourselves the freedom to take messy action,
Yeah.
and bump our head and fall on our butt and
Experience it.
make a mess.
You're very
Yeah,
cute.
experience it. Exactly.
You're very cute, Dee, the way you express yourself. I call it
Oh,
Yes, you are. You just and I love how the three of us just have this flow and we can just, chat about these things that, I think people would be interested in hearing because it's probably going to give them little snippets of, oh, hey, I never thought about it that way. And oh, what if I made that little, detour on my path of where I'm going? So if you had a final thought for everybody, what would it be?
just play in the possibilities. I mean, that really is the big thing. Play in the possibilities. There's no wrong way to do this. You literally cannot mess it up. You cannot mess it up. You can't. Just, maintain those high vibrations. That's another thing people get concerned about, is like they don't want to draw in any negative energy and all that stuff. Well, first of all, don't worry about it. Don't be afraid. Just play, keep your vibrations high. And it's like low vibration is here, high vibration is here. Never the twain shall meet, or however that saying goes. If
yeah.
you're up here, it's not going to happen. So just play in the possibilities. And you don't have to have a coach. You don't need a coach. You don't need a mentor. I heard some other lady say this on her channel, and I was like, wow, that's kind of ballsy, just telling people you're a coach. Why are you telling people they don't need you? But they don't. I mean, I did a lot of this, most of this, without a coach or a mentor. it just takes a lot longer and you're a lot more unsure of yourself. So you have to take the time to really go inside and find those answers. So although you don't need a coach or a mentor, it's a lot easier for you and you get that extra support if you have it. And in hindsight, I would definitely recommend, I mean, I would definitely recommend it now, not even in just hindsight, but for myself, I can imagine how much easier my journey would have been if I'd have had someone there supporting me and going, no, you're not crazy. You're fine. You're not messing this up. You know, I know you fell down and got a boo-boo, but you're okay. You know,
Right.
so I think those are the things, you know, trust yourself, listen to yourself, and play in the possibilities. That's the big thing.
I love that.
Yes, me too. Me too.
And so can you tell everybody where to find you?
Yeah, I'm really all over the social media platforms, but I'm more active on Facebook than anything because I do have my Spiritually Speaking podcast group on Facebook. But I also have got my website up now, and it's at EternalSoulEvolution.com. And you can find me there. Everything I do is linked there. I'm working on getting my RSS feed connected to that. So my podcast will show up in the actual podcast area, but it is linked in the my services area. So
Wonderful.
yeah.
Wonderful. Well, it was so nice getting to chat with you again and appreciate this connection that we've made. And we just love it. And we could talk to you forever and ever and ever. So we're so grateful that you could be on our podcast. So thank you so
Yes, me
much.
too. Thank you for having me. And I'm really excited about it. And I'm so grateful to y'all. And I appreciate you both. Thank you so much.
Yes. Well, thank you. And we'll see where our paths keep meeting up along this journey because I feel like
Yeah.
we're going to continue to meet. So, share this wealth of knowledge with the people that are around us and are pulling it in. So, thank you so much. We really do appreciate
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
it.
Thank you. It was good seeing y'all again. We'll reconnect again soon.
Sounds
You
good.
bet. You
And
bet.
everybody else, we'll see you next time.